Dun, 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 dun. So, hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Wherever you are today, hopefully it's still Halloween, so hope you're going to have a wonderful Halloween day. I'm recording this obviously in advance, and I'm really hoping that this works. So, Halloween, last couple of years I've done zombie things, I've done skeleton things, I've done this, that and the other. But there's one character who turned up in Modern Horizons 2 who I've never seen anyone play as a commander. And to be fair, this person has a special place in my heart because, you know, one of the first cards I ever remember casting and winning a tournament with was him to Tourach. And Tourach is now a character. 1 and a black for Tourach, Dread Cantor, legendary creature human cleric. 2-1, pro white, and has a kicker of double black. And whenever your opponent discards a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Tourach. And when Tourach enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, target opponent discards 2 cards at random. So yeah, he does his hymn to Tourach as he comes into play against an opponent if you're paid the kicker, which is quite fun because, you know, hymn to Tourach was black. It's an unusual card. It's not one you would usually see as a commander, for want of a better phrase, because it doesn't hit every opponent. It's a target opponent. If it hit every opponent, I think it would be as broken could be. But you know, I still figured it's Halloween. I haven't covered anything like this for, well, ever. So here we go. Have a bit of fun for Halloween with Tourach. So this is what the deck looks like today. Black lands everywhere, lots and lots of swamps, or my preferred artwork is swamps from New Capenna. Temple of the False God, Terramorphic Expanse, Urborgs here, just because you make everything more swampy. Rogue's Passage, there was a reason. Riveteer's Outlook, Radical Tower, Storefront. What else have we got that you probably need to point out? Field of the Dead, Folly, Memorial to Folly, and Nykthos are here. Now, Field of the Dead's a bit of a stretch in this deck, I'm going to be honest. Unless you can play some more, there's you know, you could take some swamps out and do other things with it to make sure you always have the 7. But you know, at the end of the day, you've got ways of making sure you keep them in play, so you should be able to trigger Field of the Dead eventually. And that's really it. Nothing fancy there. Mana wise, Tantalite, Talisman, Jeweled Lotus. Jeweled Lotus is quite nice because you can use it to pay turn 1 to do this and kicker. Yeah, because you are counting it to spend the mana, which is quite cool. So, yep, Soul Rings here, then Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Jet Medallion, and then some Lightning Greaves, and, well, we'll come to them. But that's the ramp. I don't know why I mentioned these two now, but I'll mention them now. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots to protect Tourach. There you go. I won't have to cover them again in a minute. But yeah, they're the main ramp. Not too bad. I mean, you can drop Jeweled Lotus if you want to, take your cost down a bit. But the rest of it, it's very much discarding things or things that benefit from discarding. So we've got Blood Chief's Ascension in here. Hopefully we'll get 2 people to lose 2 life and get this into play. This is one of the main things we've got on the deck, which will hopefully help us win. Hopeless Nightmare is quite nice because each opponent does discard a card. So, you know, lots of +1/+1 counters on Tourach. And then a little bit of sacrificing if we need to at some stage to do some scrying. The Rebirth is here. Choose target creature. You lose 2 life until the end of the turn. If that creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So a little bit of protection for Tourach once we have him in play. And Quest for the Nilstone. That comes into play. Whenever opponent discards a card, put a quest counter on it. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has no cards in their hand and the quest has 2 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 5 life. Yeah, okay then. Another great way of winning the game with the Blood Chief Ascension. Like this plan so far. Burglarat, each opponent discards a card. Elder Fang Disciple, each opponent discards a card. You're not going to win through combat damage, by the way. Most of the stuff is really small, just so we're clear. Doomsayer, each opponent discards a card when it dies. Liliana's Triumph, each opponent sacrifices a creature. We do have some Liliana Planeswalkers coming up, I think. Did I put them in or take them out? No, I took them out, so we don't. So, yeah, we're not going to be having people discard cards, but it's a little bit of board control. Sanctum of Stonefangs gives you some life gaining. We do have other shrines in here, so we do get more than just 1 and 1. Virus Beetle does a discard thing. And Waste Not. This makes your opponent's choices of discarding a bit more difficult, because they don't want to give you mana a lot of the time. They don't want to give you non-creature things, but they don't really want to discard creatures as well. So they have a hard time deciding what to discard, because you're always going to get a benefit with waste not in play. So bear that in mind. As I said, Hymn to Tourach won me matches back in the day. Hymn to Tourach makes an appearance here, even if it only is just a target player. Mentioned them. Plaguecrafter helps control the board along with Toxic Deluge. Abyssal Nocturnus, it gives us a good way of getting a big beater into play. Whenever an opponent discards a card, it gets +2/+2 onto the end of turn. And it can't be blocked except by artifact and all black creatures. It gets Fear. Fear is a forgotten mechanic. This was from Guild Pack. I think it's one of the last creatures that had Fear. But people forget about it, and my giddy aunt, do they get upset when they realise they can't block the 8/8, 10/10 that's coming at them and smacking them in the face. Arterial Flow, if each opponent discards 2 cards. Hello, Tourach gets big. Do you understand why the passage is here now? Commander damage, very good. That's all I'm going to say about that, really. Arterial Flow, if you control a vampire, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I don't think we've got any vampires in the deck. Had to have the traditional discard in here. Have to have the Hypnotic Spectre, and I had to go and find one with the original artwork in it, because I just think it's great still. Murderous Rider gives you some way of taking out something that's annoying you, and then a little bit of lifelink. Needle Spectre deals its damage in the form of wither counters, and when it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards, so it's only going to be 1 to all intents and purposes, but it's still a discard. And Oppression, whenever a player casts a spell, that player discards a card. Now this does count you, so be careful. If you've got stuff in your card, you've got to make sure you can cast everything you want to cast and you don't mind discarding some cards. But it does get to the point where you're just going to cast your spell and won't have anything to discard. So, it's all good, but it does upset some of your opponents, especially those blue-white control players. They don't like Oppression at all, so you may become a target. Commander's Fear is the other bit of ramp I forgot about. 100 of Night's Reach means each beginning of your upkeep, each target opponent discards a card for each shrine you control. So that's our second shrine to help out, gain us a bit more life off our previous shrine, where I've put it. There is Sanctum. Tourach's Cantor is also here. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a card from it. They discard that card, then discards a card at random. So you get rid of their biggest threat, and then they're probably left with something else they don't want to get rid of. Unnerve. Each opponent discards 2 cards. Yep, cope with that. 4 mana is a little bit expensive, but if it means a whole load of 6 potential +1/+1 counters on here, cope with that. Vindictive Leech. Each dies, choose 1 on war. Each mode must target a different player. So all your opponents, if you've got 5 opponents left, someone sacks a creature, someone discards 2, and someone loses 5 life. You'd be surprised how often the Vindictive Leech is just let through by whoever is attacking us at the end of the tether. Court of Ambition. If they can't discard a card, they lose 5 life, 3 life, or if we're the Monarch, 6 life, they have to discard 2. So, yep. Damnation, a bit more board control. Liliana is here. Waker of the Dead. I thought I had 1 in here still somewhere. Each player discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. It's a pure discard deck. It's getting there. The Rackling makes an appearance from Nemesis. At the beginning of each player's opponent's upkeep, Rackling deals X damage to that player, where X is 3 minus the number of cards in their hand. So they've got 4 cards to take 3 off, to take 1. 5 is 2. 6 is 3, 7 is 4. Probably not going to be that way, but it's good fun trying to do it. Thran Dynamo gives you a bit more ramp. And then the Viceling deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of cards in their hand minus 4. So it's a bit more of a complicated version. Don't get quite as much damage, but it's worth having it in anyway. Tevesh Zat Doom of Fools is here, just so we can hopefully control everyone's commanders at some stage by pumping out Thralls to block with. The Banshee of the Dread Choir. I think Myriad's been fixed on MTGO now. Obviously in real life it doesn't matter. You attack with this, you get a copy of it, attacking every other opponent you have. They hit, they discard a card. Thank you. Junji, there you go. The Midnight Sky. When it dies, each opponent will be discarding 2 and losing 2 life, making Tourach even bigger with a bit of luck. Necrogoth means its power is equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards, and since you're forcing your opponents to discard, it should be quite big. And it's quite nice, it's got a madness cost, so you can madness that out if you need to. It's an interesting addition to Modern Horizons 2, because at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player discards a card, including you, unfortunately, but you know, hey hum. Sheldred makes an appearance from March of the Machine. Each opponent sacrifices a creature, then you get all the things when you get to flip it into True Sculpture. It's True Scriptures, which is quite nice, including nicking everyone's creatures back, which is even better. Tegrid, God of Fright. Yeah, play it as late as possible. I mean, I like Tegrid, I really do, but it's become such a hated card, especially on MTGO, that people just tend to start attacking you. Doesn't matter who's ahead, if they see Tegrid, they will just come at you no matter what. So bear that in mind, but it is very good once you get into work. Cavalier Knight gains you some life and does the whole sacrifice destroy something if we need to. Cruel Grimnarch does the whole each opponent discards a card, and each opponent who can't, you gain 4 life, so a little bit of life gain potentially, or quite a lot of life gain later in the game. Nightmare. I was playing Tourach. I had to play another traditional creature. I couldn't find the original Nightmare arc, which was a bit of a shame on MTGO, but yeah, I like Nightmare. This is a card you can drop out. This is just me being a kid going back to playing Nightmares and attacking with sort of like 15-15s in the air, which I love doing. Capital Punishment. Do the whole sacrifice or discard thing, depending how the people vote. Professor Onyx, another Liliana Planeswalker, and it does give you the whole instant or sorcery. Each opponent loses 2, you gain 2. You can lose 1, look at the top card. You know what it does, it's all there. Scythe Spectre deals combat damage to a player. Each opponent discards a card. That's quite nice. Each player who discarded a card with the highest mana value amongst the cards must lose life equal to that way. So you really want to try and get them to discard something like, I don't know, an Eldrazi. You'd be surprised how many people get upset with that. Haunt of Hightower gets bigger as we make them discard cards. Duskmangler, we sacrifice something or discard a card or pay 4 life and get all the benefits of that coming into play. Herald of Anguish gives us a way of finding something. Each opponent discards a card, wrong demon. And then you can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice an artifact and give something -2/-2. That bit's not going to happen, but at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent discarding a card's nice. And the Hollow Ball. Ooh. Barges. Beginning of your upkeep, if you have no cards in hand, each opponent loses 2 life. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, they lose 2 life. This is a nice way of making people get their life down low. Decree of Pain, just another way of controlling the board or cycling it away if we need to. And Myojin of Night's Reach, indestructible counter. Well, the divinity counter makes it indestructible, and then we can remove the counter and each opponent discards their hand, which can make Tourach a win condition there and then. Last 4 cards. Portal to Phyrexia, because you want to get some bodies into play, and that means nicking everyone else's creatures, so be it. Drain life. Might as well gain some life and kill someone off. Exsanguinate. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Should be able to hit that quite happily with the creatures we have in play, especially since we are playing Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is here, so hey. And finally, Torment of Hailfire. Everyone hates this card. People expect it in mono black decks. It still works. It's still good. It's still fun from my point of view. It will upset your opponents. Be aware of it. And that's it. That's my little Halloween take on Tourach, the Dread Cantor. I hope you've enjoyed this one. He says as he's yawning. Like it if you love it, if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, that'd be really kind of you. Come and follow me on Twitch. There's a link down below in the description. The video that went up earlier in the week was about my 200th follower. I'm thinking of what to do now to encourage more people to come and follow me on Twitch. If you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, you're not using it, you want to chuck it my way, I won't say no to that either. But, I'm thinking of something. I might do something special for the 250th follower on there. So I'm thinking about it at the moment. That will be announced at some stage in the video. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your Halloween day. Don't get too sick on the chocolates. Don't scare anyone. Don't upset anyone with PTSD. And, fireworks throwing is not fun for anyone. So leave it there. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.